Great to be back in person with Administrator Zeldin of the EPA. How are you, sir?
Doing great. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, likewise. I just got back from a trip with listeners, a cruise to Alaska.
Very nice.
And I bring that up only because what I learned about Alaska was a few things. Number one, I talked to an Uber driver up there in Juneau. We were talking about the amount of oil that state drills, and all of them got a residual check every year as a family for the oil that comes out of Alaska. And I didn't know that Alaska is a site for a lot of drilling, rare earth minerals and whatnot, too. Like I don't think I really appreciated what we've got going on up there is my point.
Glad you were able to see it for yourself. Back in June, I went with Doug Burgum and Chris Wright. The three of us served together on the National Energy Dominance Council, which Doug Burgum as Secretary of Interior chairs, Doug Burgum as Secretary of Energy vice chairs, and the three of us went up to the North Slope. It's something pretty wild about standing on the Arctic Ocean in June. Up there on the North Slope, they are doing so much drilling for oil, and they are so environmentally conscious. They are very concerned about making sure that they are doing it as responsibly as possible. There was a lot of wildlife. All the wildlife up there looked like they were enjoying their best life. None of them looked like victims. It was really a beautiful picture of the proof that you can protect the environment and grow the economy. And they're proposing now to have an LNG, liquefied natural gas pipeline, for several hundred miles going alongside of the Trans-Alaska pipeline. And when we were there for the visit, this wasn't just an issue about unleashing energy dominance here in the U.S. There were many foreign leaders, especially from Asian countries, where they were there to partner with the United States because they want to purchase, they want to acquire this energy from us. We should be tapping into this potential more here at home. We haven't been, but President Trump's been pretty strong and consistent in arguing that we should. It's better for our environment, it's better for our economy, it's better for our national security. That list goes on.
I mean, I hate to single out any one state, but I don't really think I internalized just how significant Alaska was, and historically that we purchased it for $7 million as a country. Pretty good buy.
And they are so rich in resources, and they care deeply about their own environment. So as administrator of the EPA, I know that I'm going into a state that understands what they are sitting on. They want the best for their people. They want to strengthen their state and this country. They want to do it responsibly, and they also want to advance cooperative federalism. Alaska is a long ways away from Washington, D.C. They don't want bureaucrats inside of an office in Washington, D.C. telling them how they should be running their own state. And unfortunately, for too long, that hasn't been the case. We want to advance cooperative federalism as best as we can.
I know you're not the energy secretary, so this is probably a question better for him, but in terms of the development, the extraction of oil today, where do things stand when people are looking at gas prices and our production domestically of oil? Can you speak to that? Again, I know it's maybe not your bailiwick specifically, but
absolutely, there's a strong desire by the president and this administration to be able to ramp up energy production, and this goes across many sources of baseload power. There are conversations about new pipelines. Actually, I've been meeting coming up here shortly on this topic, which is a topic of conversation on almost a daily basis of what our different agencies can do to help transport the energy. I was just in New England, where all 6 states, which I visited, all 6 of them are relying on foreign sources of energy. They could be tapping into more natural gas supply. Pennsylvania could ship it to New England. Constitution Pipeline, which is a proposal from the Williams Company, would transport natural gas to New England. We were just talking about Alaska a minute ago. There's efforts to transport natural gas in Southwest United States. There's talk of more nuclear power, support for coal plants, where the last administration was trying to strangulate them out of existence. There's a desire to win this AI race. that requires more energy, it requires more baseload power. So this administration is really firing on all cylinders here to be able to meet that demand, to do it smartly, to understand the facts, the economics, and not waste any time.
Fair to say China, when it comes to energy, if they need it, they're going to get it. They're going to find it however they can find it. There is no EPA in China, so to speak. Is there?
Yeah, we are much more concerned about the environment here in the United States. And we tap into our own energy supply much more environmentally friendly than so many other countries around the world. And I remember when I was serving on the House Foreign Affairs Committee as a member of Congress, and this was right after Joe Biden was sworn in as president, and John Kerry was a climate czar. John Kerry comes to the committee to testify, and he was asked a very easy multiple choice question about the most environmentally friendly way to transport energy, and he was given options like pipeline, train, truck, etc. And without missing a beat, John Kerry, the climate czar for Joe Biden, said pipeline. Well, if we all agree that pipeline is the safest way of transporting this energy, then why are we playing along with the hysteria of these NGOs, these environmental groups, trying to shut down all these pipeline projects? And instead you end up with, truck traffic that ends up being less environmentally friendly, or relying on foreign countries where they tap into their energy supplies less environmentally friendly than we do. You're bringing up the China point on so many fronts when you compare energy policy and environmental policy between our two countries. You talk about AI. These are all topics that we should be winning on.
Do you think the environmental movement, whatever that means, that is people that have used climate change as a weapon, a blunt force instrument to scare people into behaving politically one way or the other, it seems consistently the American people, when polled on it, it's not something they're buying into. Climate change, man-made climate change. Where does that stand today, and what are your thoughts on it? Policy doesn't seem to be driving, or it's not being driven by that, in my view, sort of mythical idea.
I think that there is strong bipartisan support across this country for protecting the environment.
Yes.
And conservatives believe strongly in conservation. There's a lot of hunters and fishermen, people who come from parts of the country that are beautiful, and they would argue their state, their region is the most beautiful. That is that should be a conversation that doesn't divide us. But unfortunately, what we've seen on the left is that they will use a term like climate change to try to drive that stake, to justify trillions of dollars of new regulation that make the cost of living less affordable, to try to pass through tens of trillions of policy of Green New Deal that our country can't afford, to try to push forward a term like environmental justice, which they will use and abuse to try to get tens of $billions towards their left-wing activist NGOs through self-dealing and conflicts of interest, unqualified recipients, and reduced agency oversight. The left has taken a topic that really should be uniting our entire country. Clean air, land, and water for all Americans. Who can argue against that? But unfortunately, you have people who are trying to win elections, gain appropriations of funding, try to jam through their policy agenda by making it as controversial and as much of a wedge issue and a divisive issue as we can. We should get back to the basics, just like President Trump talks about. Clean air, land, and water for all Americans. Let's conserve the environment. Let's choose to protect the environment and grow the economy.
I'll ask you to put on your congressional hat for just a second. I know you've left the House, but as you watch your colleagues in the House, are you satisfied with the progress they're making there? And as we talk about midterms, how would you counsel House Republicans going forward? Can they keep control of the House in 2026?
We can never take anything for granted. You have to work hard for it. You go to the people, you ask them for your vote, and you earn it. once the election is behind you and you get sworn in for that term, that first term, that next term, it's important that you continue to deliver. What have you done for me lately is something that I think is actually a pretty fair expectation of Americans. Just because you did a great job getting something over the finish line 2 years ago doesn't mean that you don't have a responsibility to continue busting your butt all day, every day, to deliver for your constituents, for your state, your region, the American public. So my best advice as you look forward towards November 2026 is, with a Republican Congress and a Republican president, pursue any opportunity to notch as many victories as you can, to fulfill as many promises as you can. The One Big Beautiful Bill was a very important priority of President Trump's. He fought hard for it. He signed it on July 4th. It delivered on promises, not just on tax cuts across the board, but also no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Proposals that on the campaign trail people said were impossible, or it was just some punchline on a campaign promise that would never become reality. Well, it was all brought over the finish line, and he was delivering on this promise, and that's great. Now, that's in the rearview mirror. We'll see all the benefits of implementation. It's important for Congress to continue to work hard, and I think the American public, really across party lines, especially those who consider themselves to be independent, they appreciate hard work.
And that's my final question. How important to this administration, to your work as an administrator at the EPA, is Republican control of Congress with this president, maintaining it?
There are people right now in Congress who want to work with President Trump to deliver on the Trump mandate, to heed the call of the American public, to understand the will of the American public, where they spoke out on economic concerns. They want a more secure border. They want safer streets. They want a stronger energy policy. And this administration has been working so hard all the time with this cabinet that's been assembled, with this president's team working so hard in the White House to deliver on it. And instead of us having to fight against a Congress that wants to ignore the will of the American public, to fight against a Congress that has their own priority of trying to win their own next election and resist, oppose, obstruct, impeach anything and everything, it's great for us to be able to go into the office every morning and just zero in on notching that next victory. That's what the American public wants our focus to be. That's where our focus should stay.
Administrator Lee Zeldin, it's a real thrill to see you in person, sir. Thanks for your time today.
Thanks for your time. Take care.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.